Welcome everyone. I'm Khushboo Jha. I am the CEO of Buy Properly. As some of you are aware, Buy Properly is a platform for fractional investing in real estate. So what we do is, after lots of due diligence and lots of numbers running, we will shortlist properties that we believe are good for our customers from an investment perspective, and bring it to our platform. We fractionalize, and so we create special purpose vehicles for each of these deals so that customers can invest at their comfort level rather than very high minimum tax. Today we have with us Kelvin Kelman. Kelvin is the co-founder and head of architecture and design at Cuozo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. He has over 22 years of experience in architectural design, construction management, real estate development, and urban planning. And he's an expert in ecological architecture and sustainable design. He has worked across Canada, US, and of course, internationally as well. We also have with us Cal. Cal Juman is the co-founder and development manager at Cuozo. Cal brings over 25 years of working internationally in the tech industry. His area of expertise is really wide, as I know, ranging from integrating new advances in design, manufacturing, and building technologies to marketing. And of course, he is a numbers person, so that's why I think Cal and I get along very well, because of all of the numbers common themes that we have. Today we will be discussing the luxury villa that's coming up in Craigleith. And Kelvin and Cal, I really appreciate both of you coming and sparing time from actually doing the work. So you keep sending me photos and videos that I'm not able to forward to anybody just because they are such huge files. But good to see construction has already started and moving in full speed. So welcome to the webinar. And maybe we start with a quick overview about what we are going to talk about today. Kelvin, do you want to start?
Sure. I'll introduce myself. Hello, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here working with Khushboo and Buy Properly. As Khushboo mentioned, my name is Kelvin Kelman. I'm trained as an architect, but I've always known that such a title would be a bit limiting for me. So the goal has always been for me to design and build exceptional projects, buildings, and communities. Basically, in essence, to do things in a way that goes beyond what is the norm. I was born and grew up in Guyana, in South America, in a town surrounded by the jungle. I mention this because my experiences growing up and interacting with nature informs who I am and my approach to my work, that is architecture and real estate development. As architects and developers, our company is focused on designing and building homes and buildings that are in harmony with the natural environment, that minimizes our negative impact on our world, and providing people with exceptional places to live, work, and play. Or as we say, live, work, and play well. I use the word well because well is very important to us. There's a new building standard. It's called the WELL Building Standard. And we design our buildings and build them to the WELL Building Standard. This standard focuses not just on the building's performance, its technology, technical aspects, but also the health and wellness of the occupants. So it's a more sort of people-centered approach to design and construction. We're excited about this project. It's our first project to really demonstrate in a custom residential application these principles that we're talking about in terms of sustainable design and development, energy efficiency, optimization for health and wellness, flexibility of use, and utilizing new technology that is in place in the construction industry. So as we get further into it, we can explain some more of these interesting, fascinating, and exciting sort of tech that the industry is moving into, and we're at the forefront of this. I'll let Cal speak some more.
Thank you, Kelvin.
Sure.
Cal, over to you.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Thanks, Khushboo. Thanks, Kelvin. Good afternoon, everybody. Just to complement what Kelvin is saying, I guess what we're focused on, so the first point I want to make is that construction and real estate development is on the cusp of change. The industry has been building homes around the world, and certainly in Ontario, the same way for literally the last 70 years, 80 years. And we now have better technology that results in better built, future-proofed assets. So this entire technology of mass timber and cross-laminated timber, we made a decision to specialize in our projects with this. So we're building the expertise in the architecture engineering space to be excellent at mass timber projects. And mass timber, we can do everything from luxury homes, townhomes, detached, condo towers, shopping malls. Timber and wood is nature's super material for building. And this technique of mass timber was invented in Austria in the late 90s. And it has taken off right across Northern Europe, in the west coast of Canada, and throughout the United States. And later, I've got right around the city of the GTA, there's quite a number of projects that are condo buildings, detached homes, townhomes, industrial, commercial buildings that are all executed out of mass timber. And the result is just a better quality, more efficient, safer, and healthier structure. And when people hear us talk about building a condo tower out of mass timber, where we're eliminating concrete and steel, I make the bold claim that these buildings outperform traditional buildings in every technical metric. The mass timber houses actually have an improved fire safety than a typical home. And earlier in August of this year, there was a terrible fire in Richmond Hill. Fire in one townhome unit took out the entire block of townhomes. And if that townhomes were built out of mass timber, the fire that was started in one unit would not have been able to, breach the other units. So the second, the other point I wanted to make is that our focus on the luxury market. Kelvin has had a couple of decades of building luxury properties in the GTA, has a very good feel for that. And the luxury market is a bit insulated from the interest rate hikes and changes. So there's literally 4 market segments that we see: working class customers, mid-income customers, upper income customers, and the high net worth, the very wealthy. And our target to sort of aim this asset, it's got the right location, it's got the design, it's got all the premium features for that luxury market in that location. So I'll shut up, Khushboo. I'll let you ask me some more questions.
Thank you so much, Cal. We at Buy Properly would want to bring our investors deals that make money, but doing a project that has impact beyond just money has been something we've been looking for a very long time. And so we are very excited about actually doing a project that has an environmental impact. And while you are saying this specific one may be targeted at high net worth, I wish all of us, every average Canadian is also able to live in some of these houses over time and actually gain from the wellness that is kind of included as part of this. For reference, this property is a 1-year deal, just for giving you a summary. It's in Craiglet Blue Mountains. It's a 1-year project, estimated IRR of 28% with a preferred return of about 7%. And construction has already started. Kelvin sends me a new picture of something completed every day. So it's going on full swing and it's on track for completion sometime early next year, first half of next year. But question to you guys, apart from the economics, why did you guys specifically choose this one? And how often do you get this? Because Kelvin, you mentioned that this is the first time you've got to include so many elements in this. And that's something I'm very excited about. It's not just a bunch of solar panels. It's not just the construction material. It's the solar panels and the mass timber and the elevators and every component of it, down to its core, is actually better in the form of wellness. So how often do you get projects like this?
Well, not very often, and that is one of the impetus for doing our own projects. As you know, most clients, more developers, most people, they're primarily driven by, the bottom line, the economics. So that tends to lead to cheaper materials, cheaper way of building. And that is sort of the driving metric. Unfortunately, in North America for real estate development, it's always how cheap I can build this, and people equate that with maximizing return. However, I have a different philosophy. I think if you build quality buildings, quality structure, you actually get a higher return because people appreciate it, they understand it. Once you explain it properly and you have the systems in place, there's numerous sort of tests that have been done to prove these buildings perform better in fire. They're healthier. They impact people's health in a much better way. They're more energy efficient. These are measurable metrics that we can show. So people appreciate it. It's unfortunate that we have to, because of it's new technology, it's sort of an emerging sort of market. It's like Tesla. When Tesla first came out, it was very expensive, but the goal for us is to start to implement this so that we can bring it to the wider masses of customer. But this is the way the industry is moving. As you know, everything is about climate change and the impact of our lives on the natural environment. So our industry is looking at how we can better sort of bring better practices into construction and architecture. Construction is one of the largest sort of polluters in the world. So it's a big concern of us. And this new tech of mass timber, it's exciting because how mass timber works, it's actually a solid wall. It's not a stick frame wall in terms of a 2x4 frame wall. It's a solid wall made of all wood. And that gives its strength. Thanks, Cal. So they come in different layers. The walls are like 3 layers of sort of cross-laminated timber. The floors are 5 layers, and the roofs are 7 layers. And what these do, they're solid elements. They replace concrete, which is a huge polluter, and they allow us to design buildings that have large open spans. But also, one of the key things is wood, even though it's cut, it still captures carbon. So these buildings are a huge carbon sink. And that's why the industry is moving towards this sort of technology, because we want to have our buildings not be carbon emitters, but to be carbon sinks, so.
Right. And mass timber is going to reduce carbon emissions by 30%. And I know your project, we've estimated, reduces the operational costs through the solar panels and the energy efficiency by almost 40 to 60% lower
Right.
on the running costs. But in terms of costs, and Cal, I don't know if you have any.
I wanted to make a very short point on
Does
this.
it make it really very expensive? How
No,
much more
no,
expensive is it?
It's not more expensive. The total cost of construction is the same.
Okay.
Now, let's break construction into 3 elements: materials, labor, and time. On the materials side, it consumes more timber materials.
Okay.
So we've got an increase in materials consumption, which for a homeowner is a good thing. You're not getting hollow walls that can, spread fire. You're getting solid walls that will contain fire in the event of that. Labor content in the project is substantially down. So this process replaces human labor with machines. So essentially and time, this is like a third the time. I mean, the entire house is flat packed, shipped to the site. It's assembled within 30 days. It's finished within, say, 90 days after that. To be able to sort of bring the entire project, to completion within 9 months is very, very different. A typical standard process with a house like this would be 18 months, 24 months. And so the trend in development is what is broadly being called off-site construction. And the analogy I make is, imagine if you went to a BMW dealerships and every BMW dealership custom made the cars from raw materials in the back. You would have a very inconsistent quality of BMW. And what we're doing now in construction is bringing manufacturing process where all the components are built off-site, inspected to quality standards, and then assembled on-site. So when you look at materials, labor, and time, it ends up costing the same total cost of construction. You get a better quality structure built faster.
Got it. And then how would it differ from the regular prefab that you have that's not timber?
So prefab started off with models. So people said, oh, we want to build homes, affordable homes. So we came up with Model A, Model B, Model C, and we essentially sell that. With mass timber, there are no constraints with anything. We can build, you know, a big fancy shopping mall. We can build a luxury condo tower. We can build student housing. We could build affordable housing. We can finish these structures with cladding in any way. So the exterior can be stone, it could be aluminum, like, so there, you have no limitation. Go to a prefab company and say, I'd like to build a shopping mall or a condo tower. They say, hey, we have Model A, Model B, Model C.
So another thing with traditional prefab, in quotes, is there's two ways. There's modular prefab, and then there is sort of what we're doing, but in a different way. Modular prefab, they build, like, let's say you build a bedroom wing of 2 bedrooms in a model and a living room wing, and then so it comes in like a specific size of rooms, and then you assemble them on site. The limitation with that is you can only build those modules to fit on a flatbed truck and to be transported, you know, through the roads to site. So you're kind of limited on the sizes. The other people who are trying to do this sort of wall panel prefab, they're still using the traditional system of building, which is stick frame with insulation in between the studs. And they make a panel of that, they bring it on site and assembling. This is completely different. One of the things this allows us to do is this panel, because of the mass of it, what it does, it gives a lot of structural extra, like, special performance to the building. It gives better fire safety because it's all wood, it's all natural. We're not using the same sort of insulation, like batt insulation in between the walls, like the other sort of panel system. And it's finished. If you look at this panel, it's completely finished on both sides. You can leave it. You can
Keep talking,
leave the
Kelvin,
wood,
keep talking, yeah.
you can leave the wood exposed on the interior. You can paint it. You can leave it natural. No need for drywall after. So it comes finished in one sense. And because of the panel itself, the insulation is actually continuous on the exterior of the building. So it's not in between studs. So that idea of a continuous blanket of insulation makes the building much more energy efficient. And because of the system of these panels and the different layers, we can span large, like this building here, you can have a panel that is an entire kind of part of the wall. To do that in a traditional stick frame kind of panel, and to have these wide expansive, this is one panel that can span this building. You cannot do that with the traditional stick frame construction. And the stick frame construction does not make floors and roofs. It would just make the walls. So you end up having to do the roofs and the floors with traditional ways of either floor joists or roof trusses. This system is all encompassing. It's walls, floors, and ceilings and roofs.
Got it. I just realized, Cal, one of the projects is actually close to my house on Queen Street East.
That's right, that's right. So while Kelvin was talking, I was just flipping through images of buildings that are up
I did
and
not
around
know
the
it was
province.
mass timber.
Oh, yeah.
I pass by
Yeah.
it every day. So now I'll go check it out again. Talking about costs, so you guys are saying that it actually net doesn't cost more. But given that it's a new technical construction, let's put it that way. I don't know how else to put it. It's a new style of construction. And while there are some examples, there isn't enough. Being a startup doing something differently, I know when you're dealing with traditional institutions, it's always an uphill battle to convince them why your new innovative method is something they should support. So question to you guys on, as you guys have raised construction financing and mortgage to support the project, did you guys face any hurdles? Did you have to do any major convincing? Because I know as a startup, I struggle with that all the time when people think what I'm doing is cool, but don't necessarily want to do things differently than they have in the past.
I'm not sure that the tech was an issue, I think, in the last few months. The changing market conditions was more of a factor in terms of negotiating with lenders. Lenders certainly got very excited about the fact that the building was a better building. And once they understood why, they're like, well, good, we like better buildings. So it hasn't really, and look, I think the guys who were having this conversation in the marketplace 6 years ago, those buildings I just showed you, they fought the hard battle. Now the Ontario, all the building codes have been updated to include mass timber. We now have a plant. When we started this journey, we envisioned importing panels in from Europe and the US. Now we have a plant that came to life during the pandemic in St. Thomas, Ontario, and they're able to support our projects. One of the differences with this building technique is that you can't go to the factory and say, hey, I want to build a house. They'll say, okay, get an architect, get an engineer, and design it so that you have to deliver your requirement down to the millimeter before they can actually start fabricating the different wall panels, ceiling, floors, and things like that. So this method requires a lot more upfront design. And here's something I discovered about the industry. Very few houses, almost none of the builders in the GTA use architects to design the homes we buy. Only the high rises and the really fancy, expensive luxury homes, is there an architect involved? Well, oftentimes it's somebody called an architectural technologist who mocks up some stuff. And then the tradespeople make all kinds of decisions on the site. And that's why there's a vast inconsistency with the different models from even one builder. It's like, why are the ducts here? Why is with this method, the tradespeople on the job make no decisions. Everything is decided in the design phase. They assemble it. There's no waste. There's no sawing, cutting. It's a very clean site.
In terms of challenges, I would just say one of the challenges we have been encountering is on the financial side is just the way projects have traditionally been financed, like in terms of construction financing. Typically, you would do a phase and then you would get a draw. Because of this pre-manufacturing system, we sort of like when we are doing right now, while we are doing the excavation and the foundation work, the upper parts of the building are being manufactured right now in the factory. And so that has to be paid way up front before it's even delivered on site, right? So
right.
having the construction financing, people understand that it's something they are not used to.
Yeah.
And so we're having to do a bit of educating and to actually show them this is even better because yes, you're paying it before it's installed, but it's being built better. It is it's going to be built faster. So I think for one of the things to stress in terms of financing, there's more surety, there's less execution risk with these sorts of buildings. Once we put the order into the factory, we're building the whole building at one time. We're like traditionally to build a building like this, the lumber will come on site in phases, and you're not ordering like months in advance. You're ordering one as you need it. So price variations, if prices go up, you're gonna get hit with increase in prices. And that's why a lot of the traditional builders are struggling right now because of COVID and price increases. Whereas if we're doing let's say a large subdivision, we've already ordered these buildings and they're in production way in advance. So price increases, changes during the period of construction is not going to affect us because it's already the deal, the contract is already signed and finished.
Got it.
So there's pros and cons in us. We just have to do a bit of educating, and that's been the challenge.
Yeah, so the costs are more lumpy, I would say, because it's
and more upfront.
One big, more upfront. Sorry, Cal, you were saying something.
Yeah. No, I was just showing on the screen, Khushbu, on our website, there's a process page that sort of explains how a house comes together. So the entire house gets flat packed. While the structure is being manufactured, we prepare the foundations. And really the job crew on the site is a truck with a small crane and just some people assembling those panels. It's quite it's quite exciting to
And,
watch.
and one of the things that drew me to this method, besides all the benefits in terms of energy efficiency, sustainability, etc., one of the things that really gets to me is the amount of waste that's produced on a construction site. So traditional construction methods, you'll have guys framing on site, they need a 2-foot piece of wood. They'll go and cut like a new 8-foot length to get a 2-foot piece, as opposed to find, these are little things, but it adds up, you know?
Yeah.
So instead of finding a piece with maybe that's 2'6" and cut out a 2-foot section, they'll go and start with a new piece of wood. So there's a lot of waste that traditional construction generates, and it's not good for our planet, for our environment. So this method reduces waste significantly, you know?
And Kushbi, I wanted to pick on something that keeps coming at us. When we talk about this method, you know, people said, well, you're cutting down a lot of trees. That can't be a good thing. You know, and my response, it's a great thing. We want to cut down a lot of trees because we need to create sustainable forestry industries. We cut one tree, we plant 2 or 3. So sustainable forests are a renewable resource. So if we now managed Ontario's timber assets and we build with a domestic supply chain, 100 years from now, those forests are going to give us the raw materials to build homes and buildings for residents 100 years from now. So when you actually take a hard look at it, an old tree doesn't suck as much carbon out of the atmosphere as a young tree growing. So being able to manage forests and manage what you harvest and what you plant and manage that inventory, that's actually the secret to fighting climate change. We need to rewild the world. We need more trees in the world. And if we now start turning to trees as our building material, and we create sustainable forests, and we stop, you know, polluting the planet with concrete and steel plants, well, we're still going to need concrete and steel, but we can reduce the amount of concrete and steel we need and build our homes out of sustainable materials.
Got it. I'm not so sure about the old tree versus new tree. Yes, so that was another objection I had in mind, was the humongous amount of trees that you would need to cut down.
Well,
But
the thing is,
construction
most of the trees, all the trees for these panels are from sustainably managed forests. So the idea is, if we are utilizing trees from tree farms, we're not cutting old growth trees. So we're confining our harvesting to tree farms, and so we can keep the old growth forest intact, you know?
Got it. And then somebody has a question on the returns. Obviously, we will share more returns details when we go live. But the question is, private real estate usually has high fees with close to public market returns. What's the structure for this deal? Whereas a platform, and I let the sponsors answer the questions on their fees, but as a platform, we will still charge our standard fee, nothing more, nothing less. We charge a 2.5% management fee in most projects, and that's exactly what we would charge for this one. I think the returns are reasonably good at 28% annual IRR. As Calvin was saying and Cal was saying, because the construction and a lot of the thinking is done upfront, which has been done for the project, it's been significantly de-risked. In fact, this was one of our blockers. So in our process, when we bring in deals on the platform, one of the things that we do is obviously we cross-check whatever numbers we get from any sponsor, including you guys. So we were running the timelines, and when we were running the timelines, we're like, oh, the timelines, yeah, they will be done in like 6 to 9 months. And a lot of our advisors were like, that's not possible. That's just ridiculous, doesn't make sense. And so that was one of the elements we had to deep dive on to make sure that it is realistically possible, which is why, Calvin, if you remember, I kept pushing on, can you tell me exactly when things happen and what has happened? And I need those details, because that's one huge differential, is the length of the timeline for the project. Costs we already talked about. So the returns on this one are now, the only remaining aspects are the market forces. So the costs are pretty much known, just because most of it has been committed in one form or the other, because things have been ordered. And so there's no cost risk. There's no, I wouldn't say no, there's lower cost risk and lower execution risk on this project. there is still the market risk, which is always the case with not just this project, but most of our projects. And so that, in my mind, is the only outstanding risk, which is not mitigated, which may be true for most of the investment deals. So all of the non-market risks is something that we've done a lot of due diligence on as part of our process of bringing this deal live. Yeah, that is my response to the answer on what is the structure.
You know, and Kushbu, I wanted to make a thing when we were starting this project 2 years ago, because we had to pick the site and buy the land. And we looked at what was going on in the market. It was the beginning of the pandemic. And we sort of knew that we would end up at this point in the real estate market. We knew there was a danger, and what went on during a pandemic was a bit unusual. But we felt that picking a premium location or picking a location in a premium area, aiming the property at the very high net worth market would de-risk it. And that has paid off, because now we're into a different set of market conditions. And in the month of September, sales were increasing in that area. So I just want to touch a bit on Craigleith. I was unfamiliar with Craigleith. Kelvin was, but Craigleith is it's the oldest fancy ski area up north. It's evolved into a bit of, Blue Mountains is now a bit of the Hamptons of Ontario. And within Ontario, there are a few locations where the elites prefer. So in the Muskokas, there are 3 lakes, Rousseau, Joseph, and Muskoka, where all the cottages are over 5 million, and there's no dips in real estate. And then there's Blue Mountain. And Blue Mountain actually now has a massive advantage over Muskoka in that it is 4 seasons. In the Muskoka, it's dead in the wintertime. It's a summertime thing. And Blue Mountain, you've got on this particular neighborhood, it's stumbling distance to the Craigleith Ski Club. Costs you $40,000 a year to be a member there. It's sort of a favorite amongst many Bay Street folks. I think the cheapest place you're going to find in Craigleith is an old mangy villa for about $2 million. But it's the fancy part of town, and right next door there's Alpine Ski Club. So that's where a lot of the elites move. The house is 350 meters walk to the beach, and it's an 800-meter walk to the slopes. Where else in Ontario can you walk to the beach and the ski slopes? And you know, it's also perched on a bit of a ridge, so you've got clear views to Georgian Bay when you're having your morning coffee. It's just a great site.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we are excited about it. We know the luxury market in general is far more recession-proof than some of the other segments of the market. Well, nothing is recession-proof, but it definitely is less impacted than some of the other segments. Yeah, but then those are all my questions. I would open it up to see if any of the customers have any add-on questions on this one.
We welcome all tough questions.
I think somebody has a question. Yes. Olivia, you are, yeah.
Hear me?
Yes.
Good. I hear that the project is just 1-year project, and is it done by phase? Is the phase 1 in 1 year, or something is coming after? Thank you. Bye.
So before Kelvin jumps in, I'll say, Olivier, it's because we're building with this new technique. And truthfully, we've been at it for over a year, but you know, the first year was we bought the land with our own money, and then we funded all of the soft costs, which is the architecture, the engineering. We took it through approval. So we're actually bringing it to you guys when we've sunk a lot of money into it, and it's ready for, like, we're in the 12-month countdown. We want to, you know, we're coming out into the marketplace. This is the first project on Buy Properly. We're trying to cultivate a relationship with you, the investors, and we'd like to be able to give investors great returns. And we want to set ourselves apart from the other builders to say, well, you know, I want you to go and ask the other guys, how come you can't do it as good and as fast as Cuzo? Like, we love those Cuzo guys, you know, they set something up, bang, 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 12 to 2 years, we're in and out, everybody gets paid, as opposed to getting, you know, stuck for 5 years and waiting for your money. That's why the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so go ahead, Olivia.
No, I've been following you from Quebec. I'm based in Montreal, so I made my first investment this year, just for you to know. I've been followed by properly for years
Thank
now,
you.
asking myself, is it a serious business? Because I like the, let's say, the business model, democratizing, yes, the access to real estate. So I made my first investment. That will be my second investment with you guys. So thank you for the good job.
Thank you,
Thank you
Lizzie.
so much. And from our side, as a platform perspective, our job is to bring in deals with returns, but we also try and bring a range of deals. So one of the asks some of our customers have been having of late is to have deals with shorter timelines, just because of the market uncertainty that is there. They're just a little uncomfortable with long timeline projects. So we are actively working to add more projects that are actually shorter turnaround. And obviously a shorter turnaround means lower risk always, because the longer the timeline, more things can go wrong and things can change. And so one of our pushes is to add projects with shorter timelines, projects with a little more component that's closer to, I won't say guaranteed, but closer to fixed income. And I have a component of fixed income. And so we are trying to bring assets that allow people to hold a diverse portfolio of real estate assets, not only of one kind. And
Yes.
this is part of that. But then ESG project has been on my mind for like years.
And I have good news. We have a very, very exciting pipeline. One of our strategies for growth is three. We're picking off these very select projects. So we ourselves as Kuzo are very picky about which locations we build in, the sites, etc. Two, we're partnering with existing developers with pipelines, and we're not going to say their names, but we're close to a long-term partnership with a mid-sized builder that has thousands of detached and homes in their pipeline. And like all builders, they need to build faster, better, and just turn it quickly. So we will have a lot of exciting projects. The third thing we are doing is partnering with landowners and investors. There are a lot of high net worth investors that want to be real estate developers. We're very simple, transparent guys. We design, we build, and we're entering into partnerships with folks who own land to redevelop their sites.
And one of the things I know, it's fairly unbelievable for people to believe that we can bring in projects and finish them as fast as we're claiming. But it's the system that allows us to do that, the whole sort of CLT mass timber system, because in essence, we're building the building in two parts simultaneously. So we're doing the foundation work on site while we're building the upper portions of the building in a manufacturing facility. And when these upper elements come on site, like this house will be erected in 2 days, 2 weeks. The entire building, the upper part of the building will be erected and closed up. So it's a fast system. It's a green system. It's better for health. There's so many sort of wellness markers that is attached to this way of building. So it works well for us, and we're excited because the plan is to bring better homes and buildings to everyone, So we're not going to be the biggest guys, but we're going to be, the goal is to be the best guys.
I think it's the perfect house, Kushbu. I think if you're let's say money is no object, and you said, I want my ideal house. So today we're giving customers, there was actually an agent who sells luxury properties, and he made a comment. He says, look, I just sold this big fancy house in Don Mills for $5 million. And I went to inspect the property. It was a new build. And within 15 minutes, he was getting a headache. And he goes, what paint did they use? What building material? Like something in that house is giving you a headache. And nobody thinks about wellness. All the developers and people say, oh, it looks nice and it's cheap. Let's do it. But go Google, is my house killing me? And, start to learn about what is being off-gassed by aging drywall and carpet and this and that and mold. So if you were wealthy and you wanted the perfect house, you would want it, you're not going to compromise on design. You're not going to compromise on build quality. You're going to want it to be very energy efficient, and you're going to want it to be have a lot of green, healthy materials.
And one thing to note, in Europe, these sorts of buildings actually fetch a premium in price. they have a system of measuring to add, premium value to these sorts of buildings. We're not there yet in North America, but I envision that we'll be getting there. So the key for us is we're at the forefront. The industry is changing into mass timber construction. It has to. We've been building the same way since the 1800s, and it's ridiculous. There's so much advances in materials and technologies. So the industry is heading in this direction, and companies that are not embracing this, they're going to be left behind. So we're at the forefront, and the future, this is the future. This is where the industry is heading.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cal. Thank you, Kelvin. One last question before we end for the day. Somebody's asking, will there be a post-meeting info sheet available for the project? The project will be live on our website shortly. As you guys are aware, there's a lot of legal work that goes behind every project that goes live, because we are a securities product. And so we are in the final stages of that, and it should go live shortly. So you will get an email from us if you have subscribed to the Buy Properly website. If you have not, I would encourage you to subscribe. So as soon as it goes live, you get the link to invest there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Kushbu, there was
Yes.
one question.
Yeah.
Somebody asked the question. I'll answer it. The question is, what are the properties willing to develop into Blue Mountain? The answer is luxury detached or luxury properties. Blue Mountain is, the town of Blue Mountain is a luxury town. There is no value, there's no low income or, so it's these types of luxury properties north of $3 million. Those are the types of, and the market is hot. I mean, it's amazing what's going on up there. But during the pandemic, a lot of Bay Street decided, I'd rather work from my Blue Mountain, mansion versus the thing I live in Rosedale, which is nice and big and old. But I mean, what's going on in Blue Mountain now is Miami style beach mansions and modern, ski chalets. And it's just very exciting.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much, Kelvin, for joining us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
For joining
Thank you.
us. We have a host of deals on our platform. Subscribe to know about them all the time, as well as keep a tab on new deals when they go live. This one should be going live shortly. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.